I wanted to talk about this. I'm going to be talking about Clarkson's Farm Wars because I only just finished the second series the other day. It was very good. If you haven't watched it yet, I'd recommend that you watch it, but at the same time, if you don't want to support Amazon Prime, especially given that they might not be supporting the show past the third series, then I completely understand.
Obtain it through other legal means. Yeah, there we are.
Yeah, there we go. That's. I think that'll be all right. That'll be all right for YouTube. Okay, and Jeremy Clarkson has become a very embittered and embattled man because it turns out it's not just the main state government that sucks in the UK. It's all of the local governments as well, because the councils across this country are filled with petty, tyrannical bureaucrats who will exercise whatever power they can to screw you over. And they are screwing you over, dear viewer, because it's not just the farmers who are getting screwed over when the council exercises petty tyrannical powers. It's everybody else as well, because we in England, we rely on farmers. Shockingly enough, food is good. Farmers growing food is good. I know, radical take. Also, farmers look after the countryside. Me like countryside. Yes, I'm white enough to like the countryside around here. Just wanted to double check. So yeah, it screws every single one of us over, and we have to keep supporting people like Jeremy Clarkson, as much as he may annoy some people, although I really like the guy, and British farmers as a whole, because if we don't have those people propping up the country, then we don't really have much of a country. And as such, I wanted to promote this recent symposium that Stelios did with Bo on patriotism, talking about the fact that patriotism isn't always a bad thing. In fact, oftentimes, it can be a very good thing. And you can see why patriotism can be a very good thing, because look at how glorious that picture is. Look at that. That inspires a lot in you, doesn't it?
It just makes me think there was a past once,
I
to
know.
be honest.
Well, that's...
Being in the modern age, it doesn't make me any glorious for today's country, but...
yeah, but one of the things is they don't want you liking your past.
Yeah.
We don't want to be enjoying the past. The past was only a bad thing. Only dark and bad things ever happened in the past. But check that out to hear a very interesting discussion from Stelios and Bo on patriotism. But we have covered, as I mentioned, a bit of this before, talking about Clarkson's case for an ANCAP utopia, where Dan and Connor went over a lot of the red tape that Clarkson had to go through. That was just repeatedly, he just asked for simple things. Can I have a farm track on my farm? No. But I own the property. I own the land, it's my farm, I want a farm track because it makes farming... No. Can I open a restaurant so that I am able to make money on my farm and also help all of the really struggling farmers around the local area because they are unable to compete with foreign imports for the supermarket prices that are being dictated to them? No. Can I do literally anything? No. That's how it's been going, and that's a very good video explaining all of that. But one of the things that's come off the back of the show is that it has been very positive. It's been very popular with a lot of people, and as part of the second series, one of the things that we've seen is that the National Farmers Union actually awarded Jeremy and Caleb an award for something like outstanding. Shining a light on the British farming industry and how difficult it is for every single one of them. And it's been breaking viewing records despite the backlash over Meghan Markle comments, because, of course, after Jeremy Clarkson's evil, bad, nasty column that he did about Meghan Markle, where he made a jokey reference to Game of Thrones, which apparently was enough to have him publicly crucified, we're uncertain of whether it's going to be going on past the third series now, because they've already got the third series filmed, and yet Amazon has been a bit wishy-washy on whether they're going to be renewing it for a fourth series. I think they've said that they're going to be cancelling Grand Tour after all the episodes that they've got done are aired as well. And there was talk as well over whether Jeremy was going to stay as the presenter for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, which it seems that he is for the time being, but everything is still up in the air. But let's see. So the second series of Clarkson Farm got watched by more than 4 million people. I think it was 4.2 million people, despite the star of the show being pilloried for comments he made about Meghan Markle. Shockingly enough, the British population and everybody else on Amazon Prime seems to prefer Jeremy Clarkson to an entitled Hollywood brat. Are we shocked?
No.
No, me neither. Me neither, and it also beat the highly anticipated Rings of Power, which premiered with 3.2 million viewers. And I presume that was only the first episode, and I bet every episode after that was a steady decline. Still haven't watched it, still refuse to. It looked bollocks, let's be honest. And the publication also noted that Clarkson's Farm became the 16th most watched show in the UK in its premiere week, even topping Love Island. Bosh. Take that, Love Island. To be fair, if you're going to dethrone Love Island in the UK, where everyone's middle-aged mum watches Love Island with
Every Dino
watches Love Island, then you are doing something right. And even the farmers love him. As I mentioned, the National Farmers Union have been showering him with praise, but lots of farmers elsewhere in the country as well have been showering him with praise in this next tweet, if you wouldn't mind going there, John. Thank you. Where this guy, Jake Humphrey, just said, as someone who comes from a farming family and having married a lady who also has many farmers in the family, I honestly think Clarkson's Farm is brilliant for revealing the truth about our battered, underappreciated, and dedicated nation of incredible farmers. Wonderful show, because every single episode, as I mentioned, every single episode is him just struggling to get anything done. And you just think, Jeremy Clarkson's a guy who's got millions of pounds behind him already. He gets paid like £3 million a year for presenting Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. He already has financial stability to make it so that he doesn't have to worry, okay, if this crop goes wrong this year,
and he's got
dead.
a team of advisors.
Yeah,
not to mention the film crew and everyone else there for support. And even then, it's not fun.
No, it's not.
You can tell it's not fun on screen, and it's like, ugh.
By the end of the first series, with the government subsidies that were being given to him, I think he only made a profit of £144
in a year.
In a single year, selling off the food that should be necessary to keep the security of this country secure. I mean, let's be honest. Having national food production, Josh and I, for the weekend segments, you'll see, we're talking about the supposed food shortages in the UK and how they're a threat to national security when you don't have domestic food production, and how the majority, of the food production problems that we're having in the UK is due to government red tape, increased costs of energy production, which means that it's just making it unprofitable for farmers to plant fruit and veg anymore. So why would they? If they're not going to make any money off it, if they're going to actively lose money on it, there's no incentive for them to do so. What the government should be doing is giving them incentives to do so. But no, we're just tanking it. And Connor has pointed out a number of times that he thinks that this is part of an organised effort to try and ruin the British countryside. And I wouldn't be shocked. Because let's be honest, they've already said, you looked at that article yesterday saying the countryside is evil and white because English people live in it and it makes me scared. Okay, stay scared. As far as I'm concerned, if you hate the countryside so much, or if you look at the countryside in England and go, there's too many English people, as far as I'm concerned, stay away. Because screw you. I just get very angry thinking about it.
It's just such amazing you could say about England, but nowhere else on earth would you ever be able to say that. Like, you turn up in Jamaica, which is where this guy's grandparents from, and just be like, too many blacks.
Too Jamaican for me.
You'd be thrown out immediately, and rightfully so. Because what's wrong with you?
Although I did watch that segment, and yesterday you were saying, why doesn't he move back to Jamaica? I'm thinking he wouldn't find it as nice a place to live as England somehow.
It's also funny how his Jamaican grandparents and Jamaican parents have no problems. It's only him.
What a big shock. What a big shock. But, you've got people doing that, then you've got the government trying to give money to British farmers to try and get them to move out of their farms and hand them over and say that we need more black and brown farmers out there, which work great for Zimbabwe. I don't see any of this as being anything other than a concentrated effort to try and destroy the UK, and part of that is with the country, the English and British countryside, and all of the farmers who tend to it, and make sure that we've got nice, lovely beef to eat every year. And one of the most important parts of the second series of Clarkson's Farm was opening that restaurant, because it was just a massive faff for him. He had just this lambing shed that was going unused. Have you watched the show?
I haven't watched the second season yet, so technically you're spoiling it for me. But
do you mind if I tell you?
I
we're on this segment, so we have
the idea it's spoilers. And the other day I was on the Instagram and I saw some cows and I was like, that's a spoiler.
Oh no, he's got cows now.
Go for it.
Basically, he's got this lambing shed attached to the shop. The shop that caused a lot of issues for the local village.
I've only seen bits. So.
I can understand that. Well, fine. It's going unused because he got rid of the sheep, because apparently keeping sheep is very difficult. And I can understand. I've met sheep. They're stupid. And he goes, well, I've got an idea for making money. I will get a permit to open a restaurant there. I can just have the barn converted, make a restaurant, nice floor space, nice kitchen, get a proper chef in. Brilliant. We'll make some money off it. And then he also met with a load of the other local farmers in the local area who all said, yeah, we really need this. One of the women, who's a farmer, she has a dairy farm, and she had 120 cows. And because of the fact that in the time when they were filming, there was a massive outbreak, the largest outbreak of bovine tuberculosis that they'd seen forever, she'd lost 60 of those cows. They just had to die because they all caught tuberculosis. He tried to get rid of he tried to ask if the badgers who were carrying the tuberculosis could be shot if he saw them, because if the badgers show up and give the cows tuberculosis, well, my cows are screwed, my farm is screwed. The government said no.
I'm now homeless.
Yes, the government said no because apparently badgers are still classified as endangered, even though they're not endangered because badger baiting isn't a thing anymore. And if you shoot them, you get fines of up to, I think it was between £10,000 and £50,000 and a year in prison. All for trying not to let the badgers kill all of your cows by giving them tuberculosis. So this woman was really struggling, and she was basically just saying, I'm going to be ruined. And he goes and he speaks to all these farmers. He's like, I can sell all of your produce here at fair rates that won't be undercut by foreign products that you get in the supermarkets. And they go, that's brilliant. That's exactly what we need to stay afloat. And he goes to the council, and the council goes, no. And it's horrible. It's a horrible, horrible scene because they all just sit there. There's 3 councillors that are on Jeremy's side. And one of them is just sensible. She says, we say we care about the countryside. We say we care about our farmers. We need to do things to support our farmers. We're not doing enough to support our farmers. This restaurant will help keep the farmers afloat. And everybody else goes, no. No, just dispassionately. They go, all in favour. 3 people put their hand up, all opposed. Everybody else puts their hands up. And that's it. That's just that. Can't do it. All those farmers screwed. So what he had to do to adapt, he found out you don't need a permit if you've got an unused barn on your property to convert that and do what you want with it. But even to be able to do that, he had to send off the email to the council to alert them that he was turning this rubbish, broken, unused barn in the middle of his farm that was going completely unused into a restaurant. He knew they would stop him. So he had to get it done in 2 days. So the builders had to just haul
24-hour shift.
Yeah, haul arse to just get it done. Rebuild parts of the barn, reinforce the construction, make it nice looking, get an entire kitchen fitted in there, and have them serving food. I think they sent the email on the Wednesday. They had to be serving food by the end of Friday so that they knew that by the time the council try and show up so they can try and ruin the whole thing, that they can't just show up and go no. And
did they show up?
No, it didn't show that part, but he did get told afterwards that he's going to have to shut it anyway. That's what this article is right here. In October, so he managed to get it open in, I think it was June, July, or August, one of those months. And he was ordered to shut down his farm, cafe and restaurant after a council claimed his business was breaching planning laws. I mean, this will be great for Series 3. This will be fantastic, entertaining watching for, well, frustrating watching for Series 3, but it's horrible to hear. Because once again, despite the fact he had to downsize it, all of these other farmers are relying on this so that they can even just stay afloat. And it's ridiculous. He appealed against an enforcement notice for Diddley Squat Farm after West Oxfordshire District Council took action in August. They told him to remove all mobile toilets, all tables that would be used by diners, and all landscaping materials. It said there was unlawful use of the farm and said its nature scale and sitting is unsustainable and incompatible with its countryside location within the Cotswold area of outstanding natural beauty. So it's a lovely little restaurant in the middle of a field with a beautiful view. Before, it was an abandoned barn, going completely unused. How is it not supporting the area of natural beauty? I understand it brings a lot of foot traffic and a lot of car traffic there that can be really difficult for the people of Chadlington.
You know where we can get them to park? That field we've got.
Oh, but we can't, though. They can't, though. He's got this big field that was being mushed into the ground by all of the cars showing up there so that they could park up. And he said, can I put some gravel down and turn it into a proper car park? Guess what they said?
Yes?
No.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm sorry to get your hopes up there, Callum. I know you thought there might have been a silver lining to that cloud, but no. No, they just said no. And then at one point later in the show, when all of the cars end up resorting, because there's no parking, they end up resorting to just parking on the road outside of the shop. The council go around and put down cones to block off all the potential parking spaces down the road for 2 miles. These people, it's not just...
Like, did Clarkson kill their kids or something?
No, I think my theory is, one, that it's partially to do with what Connor says, and they want to depopulate parts of the English countryside so they can just pave over it. What have you seen?
Someone's in the chat just be like, "Oh, you got a permit for that gravel?"
Exactly. On land he already owns. Part of it, I think, is depopulation of English people in the English countryside by making it just too difficult to live there, including the farmers, so that they can just move all the migrants in there. And then also just the fact that these people, they're council members. Nobody's ever heard of them. Nobody cares about them. I doubt they have conversations with their wives because they're such miserable pricks.
This is the most exciting thing that's happened to them in years.
Yes, they get to exercise petty control and power over Jeremy Clarkson, big, notable motor enthusiast, person who's caused them probably a lot of annoyance over the years. Let's be honest, I can understand having Jeremy Clarkson in your constituency, driving around like a yob, and blowing up his house like he did in that episode of Top Gear years ago. Probably annoying, but he is trying his best to not be that anymore, and to be a farmer and try and help local farmers and producers. And they go, no. Brilliant. Brilliant. Agents working on the farm's behalf denied it breached planning laws and said some of its requirements were excessive. A map served by the council was wrong, and they said that the notice should be quashed in its entirety as a result. And papers served by the planning inspectorate showed that it had accepted Clarkson's appeal as valid and that representations must be made in the coming weeks. Do you want to know how that went?
Did they say yes?
No, not well. No, they had to shut down the restaurant anyway. Despite the fact that he'd done nothing wrong, he'd stayed well within the bounds of the law. It had been loopholes, yes, but loopholes mean legal. That's the whole point of them being loopholes. But got told he had to shut it down anyway. So he closed his restaurant, a Diddley Farm.
You got a
Diddley
permit to be legal?
Yep. You got a license for that? I mean, seriously. He said, I no longer wish to open a restaurant. He's said to have written, adding that he had been thwarted by the enforcement notice. Many local people felt the influx of visitors made life intolerable, with residents of Chadlington saying they'd been plagued by heavy traffic. I understand that those are legitimate concerns from the people living in Chadlington. But at the same time, once again, this is an active campaign enacted against Jeremy Clarkson to ruin anything that he wants to do. Jeremy has actively tried to do things to make it easier for the people of Chadlington by making it more convenient for people coming to the restaurant and to the shop. And the council just kept telling him no. So part of the difficulties that the people of Chadlington had is to blame on the council as well. Let's not even deny it. Talking about the planning, Clarkson told the programme, without knowing it, Oxfordshire District Council is writing a fantastic script and every farmer in the country will go, that's exactly what's happening. And that's true, because this isn't just happening to Jeremy, as much as it is probably particularly pronounced with Jeremy because of who he is. Every other farmer in the country is having to deal with this kind of ridiculous red tape anytime they want to do a single thing, and it's ruining them. You know, these, how can I put it, not terribly bright people in planning departments just don't understand what they're messing around with, and I'm seeing the results. I was told to change the traditional green tin roof on my shop to much more expensive slate. I was told I couldn't sell milk that was coming from 5 miles away from a woman who's desperately worried about her future as a dairy farmer because of tuberculosis and so on. I haven't been allowed to build a farm track, haven't been allowed to build a car park, even though the locals are saying there's too many people parking on the road. It just goes on and on and on, and the council's answer to everything is no. Brilliant. Wonderful. And like I said, obviously Jeremy Clarkson had his big controversy with Meghan Markle as well, which might lead to Clarkson's farm and Grand Tour being cancelled once they get through all the material that they've already got filmed for all of those, because they don't want to waste all the money that they've already spent on it. But I really think we need to keep Clarkson's farm around because it's so revealing. So revealing to what all of these people go through on a daily basis.
Probably the best TV show I've seen in years as well.
It really is. It's heartwarming. It's frustrating because of the challenges that he goes through. But Clarkson himself is a fantastic presenter for it, and it's got so much heart. And everybody loves Caleb now. Your cousin, I assume.
It's a great guy. You know what's really sad about that? I've mentioned it, but I don't have to done it here. But there's an interview where Clarkson and Caleb are talking about the future of farming, and Clarkson just goes, "Yeah, he's never going to be able to buy a farm." I'm like, "Well, what do you mean? Like, this is all he lives for?" He was like, "Yeah, the cheapest farm in the area is £1 million."
Brilliant.
So I mean, just on the other basis of the UK being terrible.
I'm glad that foreign oligarchs are going to be able to afford to move in.
Yeah.
Brilliant, because that's what it's going to be. The only silver lining in the whole restaurant thing as well is I read a more recent report saying that there is a bar at the back of the farm shop with seating, and they've put a burger van in. So instead of a restaurant, they're having to serve all of their local food in a burger van instead. Wow, really helping that outstanding area of natural beauty, isn't it? Fantastic. And the other thing that was going on was Jeremy Clarkson recently was said to have potentially been fired or cancelled from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire because of the whole Meghan Markle incident as well. Why Meghan Markle holds so much sway, just making one single offhand
second
comment.
least popular royal. I mean, like, her name is Mud.
Only in front of the nonce.
Yeah.
Well, alleged nonce.
Slightly more popular than paedophilia, and yet is still able to control the papers.
Oh, okay. Now
No, she's second. I've seen second.
Oh, in America.
Well, I'm talking about here.
Yeah. Well, apparently, America prefers actual noncery to Meghan Markle at this point. Very interesting.
Oh, at least she's not Jeremy Epstein.
No. Apparently, it's at least he's not Meghan Markle. Epstein, he was a funny one, but at least he ain't Meghan Markle. I mean, good God. And so it had been reported that Clarkson had been sacked by the network, and as a result, betting companies are already eyeing up celebrities such as Warwick Davis to replace him. Okay. The network later issued a revised statement which said, as we have said for several weeks, ITV is contractually committed to a further series of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. There are no further commissioning commitments beyond that currently, as is typical with such shows we make commissioning decisions on a series-by-series basis. Therefore, for the avoidance of doubt, neither Who Wants to Be a Millionaire nor Jeremy Clarkson have been cancelled. And then Clarkson tweeted later on, I think this was yesterday, saying, so many kind messages about today's reports, but relax, Lisa and I have not split up, Lisa being his wife, who apparently also there have been reports that because of the Meghan Markle comment that they'd split up, and Jeremy had to go, no, she's not broken up with me over that, you morons, and I have not been sacked as host of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. But the only thing that I say with that, they're making it on a series-by-series basis. What it sounds to me like is that Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, have him under contract, can't really breach that contract, want to get this series done, and then he's gone. So there's no confirmation. He's still probably gone from it. They're just trying to blacklist him now. Once Clarkson's Farm Series 3 is done, get rid of it. Once Grand Tour's next 4 episodes are done, get rid of it. Once next series of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is done, get rid of it. Now, Jeremy Clarkson's a very rich man. He's going to be able to survive. He's in his 60s. He's got lots and lots of money behind him. He's not going to be hurting because of this. I'm saying that we're all going to suffer when, one, I really like Grand Tour. It's a very entertaining show. And two, Clarkson's Farm is genuinely important. It's really important on a cultural level just to reveal what is going on in the British countryside. And just to show that there can be a happy ending and just the impact that it has. Look at this. That woman who I said, who's struggling with her farm because of all the tuberculosis, taking out half of her dairy cows. She was donated £34,000 by fans of the television show to try and help her keep her farm afloat. That's the sort of impact that this show can make. Honestly, it's important. She has said that what she's going to be doing is donating the money to charities to help other struggling farmers across the country as well. She's going to be donating most of the money. I imagine she'll be keeping enough to try and keep herself afloat as well. But this is a genuinely good thing done by fans of the show, and they should be very proud of themselves for doing this because she was really struggling, and it's wholesome to see. And that's why we can't let the councils keep pushing around farmers across the country with interminable red tape and pointless regulations, and B, we need to keep Clarkson's Farm on the air so that we can see what is going on with it. So yeah, we need to just keep supporting the honest and hard-working farmers across the country. That's my last word on it there.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the premium articles, this one on mandatory anti-sexual harassment training, a survivor's tale, with an audio track for silver and gold tiers, of course. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter.